The Matthew Dark Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, praise God and welcome in. This is the Matthew Dark Show. Now remember, hit subscribe everywhere you get your shows. Never miss an episode. Want to bring the only topic in America that has to be on the heart of each one of ours, or nothing happens, the Epstein Files. It's a tough read. It's a tough watch. There is no doubt about it. The places it makes your mind go, no person should have ever had to experience that, let alone the actual child victims. But it's the child victims that were actually reading the files, pressing the files, asking the president, why on earth are you making this so difficult? Why? Why do you need to make this so difficult? You're so clean. You said it. You've already denounced Jeffrey Epstein. You kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. But we want to know, why are you making it so difficult? Because if you read the emails, and there's 3 million documents, these are disgusting films, disgusting emails. This is the worst of the worst. If you read these emails, though, it's very clear the sender is redacted, and then it's to Jeffrey Epstein. And the sender is saying horrific things. Sender is saying things about torture. Did I kill her? Of course, the pizza, the hot dog, the ages. We see all of it now. And they tell us, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, these monsters, Dan Bongino, all these people, they say in what they have evidence-wise, which is now what we have, the 3 million or the 6 million we're owed all 6 million. The Epstein's File Transparency Act forces that. They don't have a choice. So right now, Todd Blanche is breaking the law. Pam Bondi already broke the law. Kash Patel has perjured himself. He is a now confirmed on the record liar. What he said was at his deposition when he was giving testimony to Congress, and this was, of course, the senator from Louisiana's question, John Kennedy. What did he ask him? Kash, is there anybody else involved? And what did he say? He tells us under oath that the evidence that they have that Epstein didn't traffic a single child, a single teen to any other one than himself. And now we know, because of the Epstein release files, that that cannot be true. In fact, we could go get 6 men, powerful billionaires right now. We could have them. We could have Les Wexner. And of course, let's set this tone for Lex Wexner. Now, he is, of course, a Jewish man who has spent a ton of his fortune on Israeli and Jewish causes. Totally fine. It is worth mentioning Jeff Epstein is Jewish. So we do have to keep that conduct, because we know we get caught up in the Judeo-Christian lie here in America all the time. I have to support whatever. This is Zionism now. Remember, I have to support whatever the government of Israel is doing, regardless of how despicable it is, or maybe how much it harms my own values. But we had a large player there at the center, Les Wexner. Now, Les Wexner, billionaire owner, CEO, Victoria's Secret. This is all your mall brands. So Limited, J. Crew, Victoria's Secret. This is his thing. And gosh, what a heyday Jeffrey Epstein must have had helping Les Wexner recruit models for his company. Needed the best, needed them young. And that was one of Jeffrey Epstein's specialties, luring the young women in. So we know that Les Wexner gave him a $70 million townhome in New York City. Jeffrey Epstein owned the second largest and most expensive home in Ohio, second to only who? Les Wexner. Les Wexner gave Jeffrey Epstein power of attorney and was a director of his foundation for 15 years. Okay. Now, we know he was committing these crimes during those times. Jeffrey Epstein was absolutely procuring young women. He got kicked out of the girls' school. Now, another loop we have to always pay attention to, Bill Barr's dad is who ran the girls' school that Jeffrey Epstein was teaching at. And he didn't even finish college. They hired him at like 20 years old. He was teaching high school math. Evidently, he is good with numbers. And they saw that, hired him. Problem was, he was partying with the students, drinking with the students, getting the drink, and being a pervert to the students. They had to let him go. But they didn't just kick him out of the network. Bill Barr's dad, William Barr, who was intelligence linked, set him up with parents of the students who would be able to use Jeffrey Epstein's unique skills, which requires soulless, no morals, whatever it'll do for a buck, whatever it'll do for pleasure. You need a guy like that to do dirty work. So, of course, he gets the job, working in finance, and that's where he begins to make these connections. And that's what leads him eventually to Les Wexner. Okay, so Les Wexner, we're supposed to believe, was a dear friend of his, and his excuse is, well, he conned me, he lied to me, he got me. Remember, these are billionaires, folks, that are being conned and lied to, tricked like this. And you wonder, well, how did you make this great fortune if you were so vulnerable to the scam, to the con, to the fix? How has that happened to these successful people like Bill Gates? Also, another one that claims to be victimized by, I regret it. He got me. He fooled me. I thought he was a great guy. But we know he was on the plane. We know he was friends with him. We know his wife left him as a result of finding out that Bill Gates was assaulting children. And if that's defamatory, please sue the show and we can do discovery in the whole bit. But of course, none of these people, President Trump included, are going to sue any of the people that are making these allegations because there's so much meat on the allegations that we have high level people, powerful people, government, business, and all over the globe that were abusing children. And so America, it's not actually a political issue at all. It's a moral issue. So whether you hate Democrats or hate Christians or hate the MAGA movement, doesn't matter. If this isn't at the top of your list for grievances, the fact that we now have video, emails, photographs, all the dots are connected. What are we waiting for? Okay, this is like O.J. Simpson obvious. Of course, when O.J. Simpson nearly cut off the head of his wife, Nicole Brown, and the poor waiter, Ron Goldman. Okay, this is that level of evidence times 100 because it's at mass scale. We have hundreds of men that participated in the filth. And that's why they're resigning from their positions. And that's why they're no longer going to be recognized in society. You're going to have to just run away and hide. How Tony Podesta, John Podesta, Anthony Weiner are still allowed out in public and how people are not just tearing into them in public, it's beyond me. 8 police officers, detectives that were involved in the seizure of Anthony Weiner's laptop killed themselves. The stuff that's on that film on his laptop should never have been seen by human eyes. It's that gross. He walks free. He does a podcast. He's still politically in there. That has to be unacceptable in America, though, from this point forward. And so we have to clean house. So we go back to how we started. President Trump, we gave you very clear orders when we sent you to Washington the second time. We required a few things. We had to have a closed border, which it's 94% close. We thank you for that, President. The wall is not completed yet, so we must put that as a priority. So instead of spending the money in Iran, instead of spending the money in Israel, instead of spending the money in Ukraine, we need all those funds to the wall. And I know you said originally that Mexico was going to pay for that wall. I don't even care about that. We waste enough money globally that we can pull back at just a pinch, finish that wall, they're done. Now, we didn't get mass deportations. We had to have mass deportations. 20 million people just waltzed in here, red carpet style under Joe Biden. Most of them are bad for society. They're not going to assimilate. They're going to be criminals. They're going to be poor. They're going to be reproducing. So remember that 20 million, if we don't get them out, flash forward 5 and 10 years, you're in like the 50, 80, 100 million brand new people because they've come over here and had children. And those children immediately go on Medicaid and services. And so that actually has to be dealt with 911. We have to ask all those that came in illegally, you must leave, and either by force or by your own choosing, but you cannot stay here. And I'm sure you will, if it's really important to you, you'll get back here the right way. And here's the paperwork to do so. And we wish you a great rest of your life. And it has to be that cold and cut because they're going to suck us dry. We're never going to have a chance. So American people that are having children right now, forget about buying a house and stuff. Just are there going to be the basic services? Remember, there is finite limits to things like water, healthcare services, government funding. And we just didn't really budget for like 50 million new people to come in and suck those things dry. So that has to happen. Mass deportations is still a request, requirement, demand, and a moment of accountability from MAGA, America First people must do that. Okay, so we sent you to go close the border. We still expect that to be done. Okay, that's number one. Number two, we were very clear, very adamant that we had to have the Epstein files. There was not a lot of negotiation. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, all the players that you then put into the right pieces. And even you yourself who didn't want to release the files. Remember, he's got that great interview. This is in the fall of 2024. The reporter asks him about files release. And he says, they say, how about JFK? He says, yeah, I would. MLK, yeah, I would. Epstein files, yeah, I would. But that one, not so much. This is what he says. We'll get the clip. So he didn't really want to do it, but he said he would. And all of his fans, all of MAGA says we need those that went to the island, those that participated in the activity in New Mexico or in Palm Beach. Those people, we have to deal with them. And it requires trial, conviction, and then it needs to be their head on a noose in a public square. We have to show the world and the people that live here that are committing these. Once we catch you, it's all over. We haven't sent that message. In fact, we have a president and a White House, and Pam Bondi gave that absolutely disgraceful testimony, talking about the Dow $50,000. What are you talking about, honey? They asked you a question. Why are you not pursuing Les Wexner or the other 6 co-conspirators that the Epstein release gave us? Why are you not pursuing those? And she wanted to talk about the Dow 50,000. And then, of course, she lost her job. Now, she mostly lost her job because she was being deposed as the attorney general to give testimony on why are you holding on to 3 million of the files? You are by law required to give them all, and you won't give them up. Why are you doing this? And so you're either breaking the law or you're covering up a law. But we have an active cover up going on as we speak. Donald Trump fires her and gives us Todd Blanche. Todd Blanche is way worse than Pam Bondi. Todd Blanche is the one that signed the July memo from the Department of Justice. And this is a lie, of course. We now know it's a lie because we got the Transparency Act. Stated that after a full investigation, there was nothing that tied any other men to Jeffrey Epstein. So the 6 million documents that they claim we all have now, they just center around Jeffrey Epstein. I was doing this thing with AI, Grok. I was asking it because I asked it very quite blank. Is it now consensus that there was other conspirators enjoying the services of Jeffrey Epstein and his, and it said no. And I said, I asked it back. I said, well, but so nobody else, including all the emails, ever witnessed, saw, partook in, and then it began to change its tune a little bit. But you couldn't just ask Grok, were there any co-conspirators? It'll tell you there's none, because that's the messaging from the Department of Justice, Todd Blanche, Pam Bondi, and this is all obviously Donald Trump and down. Now, Donald Trump has some kind of threat, like a gun at the back of his head, saying you release the files and you're toast. And so we know that that kind of pressure is mounting on him. If you don't continue the war in Iran, you're toast. That pressure is upon him, and he's not doing well. For the first time ever, I think it's clear and obvious, Trump is not making his own decisions. He is being told what to do. And that's what it's so shocking about it. It's so out of character from the 9 years, 10 years that we've seen Donald Trump in the spotlight. And now all of a sudden, his passion, his singular passion, Iran can't have a nuclear bomb. You're kidding me. That's the biggest concern right now in America, right? The fact that Iran may someday, and for 30 years, Benjamin Netanyahu has told us tomorrow's the day they're going to have it, next week, next month. And that was in 95, and it's still going on now. So for over 30 years, we've been told that lie, and we purchased that lie. And then our Judeo-Christian Zionists here in this country perpetrate that lie, and we just keep pushing harder. If it's for Israel's interest, I'm sure it's good for us. That's been the mentality. But we're not asking any questions or motivations. Most people have no idea that Benjamin Netanyahu, is currently a paused trial for corruption and bribery charges in Israel. And actually, right before, in the months up to October 7th, there was a brewing protest amongst the people of Israel about his conduct and what he had gotten them into, and that they were basically stripping away rights of the Jewish people. Now, this is their own government doing this, but we're not allowed to say anything, because guess what? You can love your Jewish brother, and you can say that the government of Israel is a wicked beast and we want nothing to do with them. You can say those things. They're both true, and they're actually the way you should interpret it. The Jewish people that are being abused by their prime minister are no different than the American people that were abused by Joe Biden and currently being abused by Donald Trump. That's fact, not fiction. And so when we look at it like that, our only plea is, Jewish person, wake up, come to Christ, fight back, tell them no. You're living under a demonic presence in this Talmudic Zionist Judaism, and it's not compatible with Jesus Christ. The Lord and Savior would never go for this. Oh, if they're brown Christians, it's okay to kill them, because that's what's happening in Lebanon. If they're Iranian children, because we hate their fathers, it's okay to kill 186 schoolgirls. I can't find that anywhere in the New Testament. I can't find it in the Gospels. I can't even get to a scenario, and Paul would be completely offended by these responses. Remember, Saul, was a brutal, nasty monster, killing, persecuting Christians. He has an encounter with the Holy Spirit, and he's made new, and he never looked back, and he was nonviolent, even as he was being stoned, even as he was being imprisoned. That was just not the response from a Christian. So we're not going to participate in the killing of children, number one. Number two, we're also not going to say, well, hey, these billionaires better knock it off with the kids in the island. We don't want to see this is going on anymore. We're going to give you a pass for what you did. You put the 1-year-old in the closet for a month, abused it 10 times a day. It died. You ate it. You threw it. That's what they're talking about in the emails release, EPSTEIN Files Act. Okay. That was only one person in all of Congress, Clay Higgins of Louisiana, voted not to release these files. They give Donald Trump all this credit because he signed it. He had no choice. It was veto proof. When that bill showed up on his desk at 5:36 to 1, you have to sign that bill. You don't have a choice. You could not sign it, look like a fool, and you could end your presidency right then and there. So of course he signed it, but he gets no credit for it. He's asked us to move on. He fired Pam Bondi. He put in the bulldog, the one that will stop this right here and now, Todd Blanche. And here's what it is. If we, the American people, stop talking about the Epstein files, Todd Blanche is good. He won't ever have to lift a finger. We can pursue other wars. Maybe we can get deeper into Ukraine. Maybe we can help Israel in its pursuit of greater Israel. That's just not going to work, folks. So this is actually an indictment on the American heart. Because if this doesn't drive you nuts, if this doesn't make you so irate to say, we have to do something, there's something must be done. Children, 400,000 children go missing a year just in the United States alone. And we're sleeping at night. How can that be? How can that be? How can we allow that as a culture to have 400,000 American children go missing every year? And we know the outcome is always going to be bad. They're going to be abused, trauma, killed, raped, turned into street prostitutes. We're going to let that happen as a society and say America is the country that should be telling the world how to live? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to fly at all. And it's not going to fly under a Donald Trump president when we sent him there for very specific mandates. Okay. So what did we say? Had to have a closed border, had to have deportations, had to have the Epstein files, had to have full release and prosecution. Okay. So far we're 0 for 2. We're not getting these. Okay. Number 3, we needed help with inflation. The inflation has been suffocating since before COVID. I mean, basically at the start of COVID to present day, it's done just this. We're just a steady creep up. Okay. So housing's unaffordable. Groceries are unaffordable. Fuel is now too expensive. And of course, Donald Trump tells us, well, we have plenty of fuel, just buy our fuel, but yet it's still $4 a gallon. Why is that? We have so much, but yet we actually increased the cost of living for every American the moment we started bombing Iran. The moment we fund $250 billion to Ukraine, the moment we give $18 billion in aid to Israel for their wars, the cost of living for the average American goes up. And I'm saying if they went door to door asking you, the American public, hey, we got a new war brewing, we're going to need a little money for it, $1,200, can we have it? You would say, absolutely not. I don't want anything to do with this. But they don't come and ask us that way. They just do it and then just creep that cost of living up to where now food, services, groceries, gas, all of that stuff now, $100 a month, $150 a month. They'll get used to it. And we've been getting forced to get used to it. Remember, moms used to stay at home. Dad could be a carpenter. Dad could be plumber. Dad could be a manager. Dad could do normal jobs. Wife could stay home, raise the kids, cook a nice meal, come home, do that for 30 years, retire. That's the American dream. Well, that's been gone for some time because now mom has to work full time and maybe even a little bit more. We've had to make cuts. Everything is go, go, go. We're stressed to the brim. The last thing we can do in our day is go back and say, okay, where did the government deceive us? Where did they lie to us? Where did they take our money and misuse it on us? We've gotten too busy. We've gotten too fast to hold our employees accountable. Never forget, even as big and popular as Donald Trump is, he's your employee. You hired him. And he's doing a really bad job right now because you sent him with these mandates, inflation, close the border, Epstein files. We wanted justice. We need COVID justice. We had COVID shots come onto the market that were poison. If you go from December 2020, that first 6 months of the COVID shot, absolutely lethal. That's where your injuries, they didn't know. This was an experiment in real time. And then they tweaked with the potion. So if you took a booster Oh, I don't know, 2022, 2023. Who knows what you got? Those first batches, though, were so lethal. Our injuries were so high. Stu Peters' film Died Suddenly gives you exactly how we know, because the coroners were pulling out the blood clots, and they were so unique. None of them had ever been seen before. But the blood clots that were forming from COVID vaccine shots, okay, those we can now trace back. Took a vaccine, got this clot, died instantly. Okay, so we have no justice for that. Donald Trump has yet to repent of that. Remember, he's so proud of Operation Warp Speed, thinking that saved all these people. I think he said it. He thinks it saved 20 million people. 20 million people were saved by that? You're kidding me. We think it's closer to 25 or 50 million deaths as a result of the COVID shot. We think it's hurt people. We think it's sped up cancer. We think it caused a destruction of the immune system that not everybody's going to recover from. So we don't have any repentance for that either. We don't have any work on the 2020 election. We got the J6 pardon, so I am grateful that those people are all home. They need to be made settlements. They need to be made whole. And Donald Trump should be the pioneer, the patriot of that. Remember, America first, America only, MAGA. When do we get to the business of America? From the beginning, remember, we found all that fraud, USAID, Elon Musk was heading it up. And this is great. We're going to get these bad guys out of here. We're going to get all this money returned. And you don't hear anything about that. There's been nothing changed. They threatened Minnesota and the $9 billion. That's not what the $9 billion, who cares? We're talking about the hundreds of billions that we found that was being stolen or given to Uganda or given to Iraq to produce some kind of homosexual Sesame Street film. We're looking for all that money back and it go right back to the American people, because see, as that money goes out the door in inflation, printed money that we ship out all over the world, cost of living goes up for you and I. And I'm saying we're done. Aren't we done yet? I mean, where is the money supposed to come from? Taxes only go up. Cost of living only goes up. Yet wages kind of do this. When's the last time you got a 25% raise year over year? When's the last time your paycheck just randomly just kind of moved up with the cost of living? It doesn't happen. It can't happen anymore. So we can't get into where a bagger at King Soopers, a bagger at Kroger's is a $35, $40 an hour person. But that's what they're going to have to make to even stay alive in society as we get everything's like New York City and Japan, all these incredibly inflated cities. It's just taken over the country. And we said we need relief from that. We won't make it from that. We have record credit card debt. Our kids can't buy a house. It's really hard to say that America dream is sitting right there because we don't pay attention to it. We did everything in this second term for others, but we neglected our own. So I've never thought, like, if my kids are starving, and I know there's kids starving otherwise, but if I'm the dad and I've let it go to where my kids are starving and we get $5 to get a meal, I think I would be judged fairly to say you're a bad dad if I go give that $5 to another family. Your own family is not going to make it through the week and you won't feed them. And that's the country. He won't give it up. He won't say, okay, shut up, globalist, shut up, Zionist. I'm out. Shut up, deep state. I only care. I got 2 years to focus on the American people. So the real question is this: have we crossed a point of no return for Donald Trump? The Epstein files put him on such thin ice, not many people can recover. Maybe only Donald Trump can recover from something like that, because you remember he has gotten a pass on the dirty talk, on the crude language, on the non-conventional stuff. But when we brought that behavior to the Epstein files, and we can say, well, we have this guy at least right here. This email says he did this with a child, but yet no. See, he should want one of these guys' heads on a stake at least, just to feed the people something. And we're just asking for one name. We donated to you. We rallied hard for you. We prayed for you and continue to do that. And we're just asking for one name off the Epstein files, and you won't give it. Why? Why are you making this so difficult, Donald? And so what I'm worried about is that he is obviously no longer making his own decisions. I mean, I think that's clear. How he became so passionate about protecting deep state monsters when he absolutely came to oppose that. Remember, 2015, he comes down the escalator in New York with the lovely Melania right there. And he says a couple things, and really important things. We're going to build a wall, and Mexico is going to pay for that wall. He said that, number one. Number two, he said, we're going to drain the swamp. You want to drain the swamp? Your swamp lives in the Epstein files. All you have to do, Give us the files. Quit playing around. Why are you doing this? Todd Blanche, just so by the way, is the same Todd Blanche, Deputy Attorney General at the time. He went down to the Florida prison, visited with Ghislaine. He extorted that testimony from her that says, I never saw Donald Trump do anything wrong, never with a child, never with a minor, nothing like that, although she will refuse to answer any other questions. And what happened 2 days later? She was transferred to a lesser prison in Texas. Now, you tell me, if it was just Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein, do we really think a woman who procured like 12-year-olds, 16-year-olds under the guise of you're just going to give a massage, make $200, and then that ends up happening to them? They're taken to the island. They're abused by Prince Andrew and Bill Clinton and all these Bill Gates and Alan Dershowitz. And please sue the show if any of this is untrue, but the files are making it pretty clear, completely inappropriate to be thinking you're on a private plane and these are just stewardesses in tank tops and tiny shorts. What airline does that? But that's the story they went with. We know those papers and documents exist and they tie right together, and nobody will do anything about it. Todd Blanche sent a convicted child trafficker to a lesser prison. Do you think, ladies and gentlemen, that a convicted child sex trafficker should be giving a lesser sentence or more perks in jail? And they only did that because she said Donald Trump never did anything wrong. He's a peach. And of course she did that. Now, she's also said, I will not testify to any other committees without a full pardon. So she doesn't talk. She sits there. She holds a lot of power. Okay. So, of course, we're supposed to believe again that Epstein killed himself in that 30-second window. The cameras were off and the guards fell asleep. Now, do you believe that story? Because Dan Bongino does and Kash Patel does. And these two guys made careers on and a lot of money, saying the FBI knows exactly who's on those FBI files. And once they got into government, they sat there, remember, like two just totally, he killed himself. I've seen a lot of suicides. And this is Dan Bongino. He making $5 million a year on a podcast, been inside of this issue for years leading up to his departure to join government. And you want us to believe that in the 30 seconds the cameras went off and the guard was asleep and nobody was watching, that's when he did it? I'm sorry. You must think we're stupid enough to believe something like, oh, I don't know, Building 7 on 9/11 falling down in perfect demolition manner, but it was never contacted by a plane. So again, they think we're that dumb because we'll believe things like a guy in a cave in Afghanistan took out 3 buildings in New York City and they all fell free fall, controlled demolition style. When you step back and look at 9/11 and you believe the narrative from the government, you've been captured. You've been captured, and you're vulnerable for every capture, like a COVID shot or a fake election or this dismissal of the Epstein. Okay, well, he investigated it. I guess there's nothing in there. I'm sorry for even suggesting one other man besides Jeffrey Epstein might have partook in this conduct. I mean, think about how preposterous this is. Trump says all the time, everybody knew him. He was at every party. He was a big deal in Palm Beach and New York, and that's how rich people live. So everybody knew him, had hundreds of friends, business, deal making, but not a single one of his friends joined in with him, enjoyed a girl or a time at the island or a massage on the plane. Not one single man in his 25-year reign or more of child sex trafficking. I mean, I don't know what's crazier, the moon landing story, the 9/11 story, the COVID story, or the idea that Jeffrey Epstein had thousands of victims, but he was the only one that was taking part. Everybody else maybe just knew and looked the other way. Come on. These stories aren't going to fly. And the emails tell us that that's true, that they were all participating. And I will tell you what we don't know is probably too traumatic for about 99% of people. The stuff that's available, it's going to rock your world once you get into the files, once you get into the pictures. And it's actually inappropriate unless you're ready mentally to go into that space and say, I have to deal with this. I have to respond to this, because a culture that requires child sex trafficking to flow, I want nothing to do with. I don't want to even be a part of it. I want out. And I want justice for these children that have been locked in closets, abused 10 times a day, fed twice a week. And then when they're done with them, they're just discarded away into the ocean, into sulfuric acid. And we're supposed to just say, we're having for dinner tonight. That's an indictment on the American heart, and it's unacceptable. So it's not a political thing. See, we've made child sex trafficking a political topic. It's not. It's a moral topic. It's a spiritual topic. Do you have it in your heart to stand and protect children? If you do, you must go nuts on Epstein and the release. If it doesn't bother you, meaning these are somebody else's kids, and I don't like that it happens, but obviously I'm not going to get involved, then that's an indictment on you. If this doesn't make you sick to your stomach and kind of put a pause in your enjoyment of your day, that's an indictment on you. It's not a judgment. It just means right now your morals are not in line with what matters in life. Christ 18 says in Matthew 18:6, and Christ loved little children. Let them come to me, he says. But in 18:6 of Matthew, he says very clearly, if any of you should so detour one of these children who want to follow me, it would be better that your neck, we put a millstone around it, and that you be cast out to the sea. So you die. So basically what Christ is saying in that messaging, it would be better for the world if you not exist, if your purpose is going to be to corrupt children. You cannot corrupt children and be in his kingdom. And as a society on a worldly level, you can't be in our culture, you can't be in our systems and abuse children. We kill those people. I mean, we absolutely execute that type of person. And so we just really advise that you get help, mental help, spiritual help, and get rid of those thoughts. And that's really no different than any psycho person that would maybe have found murder or rape or rage or drinking or drug. These are sicknesses. This one, though, just happens to be the most hideous, most destructive of all mental illnesses and demonic capture. Mind you, these are sick people that have been completely consumed by Satan himself. That's the only way you could make a child scream and torture a child and get pleasure from that. Have to be demonically captured. So what we say is this to the American people: if you love Donald Trump, if you love your country, you will never, ever stop demanding full and flood the prosecutions of the Epstein perpetrators. There's co-conspirators that we can see. There's co-conspirators that we'll get once they release the full files. We'll never stop talking about this. We demand justice for these children. We demand a country that prioritizes children and America itself. Get out of Iran yesterday. Get out of Israel yesterday. Cut off Ukraine yesterday. Everything from here on out has to be America only. That's the thing. Make America great again? No, that's not going to work. America first. You can see that doesn't work. The policy is simple: America only until further notice. And that could be decades. There's been so much damage done by these just pot-sucking politicians. The damage is maybe irreversible, but it's a long rebuild. It's a long rehab for America. We've let some really bad stuff develop. It's gotten into powerful places in our culture. And it's going to take a Christian heart, a selfless heart, to say, yeah, I don't want to hear about all that. How do we get corruption and indecency out of politics, out of our government? You work for us. We don't allow sexual misconduct at our office. So you're fired. When do we start responding like that? The second we do, you win, America, and you get your country back. But as long as we stay committed to every politician is a rock star, every politician is where I put my hope, forget it. Could you imagine now putting all your hope in Donald Trump instead of Jesus Christ? They want to compare Donald Trump to Christ all the time, his team, and he, of course, made that ridiculous image of himself as a doctor. You can see right now, there's no comparison. Dump politicians, get submitted to the Lord Jesus Christ. You'll start to see these people. They're lost. They're sick. The biggest problem with Donald Trump, he doesn't follow the Lord Jesus Christ. So the conduct is being led by others, peer pressure, demonic influence, worldly pleasures. He doesn't know the Lord, and it's showing up in his performance. So as Christians, we don't really care about all that other stuff. All we care about is this: Lord, come in and take over Donald Trump's heart. Sweep him up. Give him a Saul Paul-like encounter. He was this. After he met you, he looked nothing the same. That's what we can be prayerful for, hopeful for America. Because until that changes, though, you're going to get more of the same. Deceit. Children are going to pay the price. We're going to pay the price in inflation. It goes on and on and on. So the Lord has to capture them and all these other people. And then it's our responsibility to say, you're not doing the job right. You got to go. We wish you the best. It's not for you. And if we start acting like that, they're begging us, how can we serve you better? How can we please you, boss? That's what we need these people to do. Instead of it, oh, okay, bread today, thank you. The game's over. You're raping and abusing children. game's over. Folks, do this. Hit subscribe everywhere. Got great shows coming up next week and over the weekend. So we'll get those all released. Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, folks. But do this until next time. Serve the Lord. Tell a friend. Come back. Stay good. God bless you, America.
The Matthew Dark Show, your one-stop show for truth, courage, fellowship, and faith. Available everywhere you get your podcasts.